operation budget?
Just being a straight man into the next.
Yep,
Budget.
okay.
Yeah.
We will now discuss on page 49, the ambulance service operation budget. So, this was another minimal cost, but I'll get to something additional than this. So, again, with repair and maintenance line item, we had to raise that $2,000 for just the maintenance and wear and tear on the ambulances and to get those fixed throughout the year. We deleted the contract service fees line item, which was budgeted last year for $3,000. We have no reason for that, so that line item is deleted. So $3,000 is being taken away from the operational budget for that line item. So we really don't have any contract service fees for EMS in town, so.
Yeah, the stretcher repair would be the only thing that would fall under it. And some of those, but for whatever reason, it wasn't
Yeah.
drawn out.
Yeah. Okay.
So you need to make sure it's correct then for the stretcher
We
maintenance.
will need to make sure that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to back check that one?
Yeah, so what
Yeah.
we have, all our stretchers, one of the things we went to within the last few years in Monroe, being that we've kind of been 4 different EMS stations, with our ambulances, we've all really band together over the, last several years, but making sure that our equipment is the same. So that if my ambulance, example, a few years ago, we had that vehicle into the creek down off of Thompson
Yeah.
Run Road. So we had 8 out of our 9 EMS units on scene. And what we were doing in that example, we were literally taking stretchers out of trucks, and it didn't matter what stretcher went into another truck. We were just literally shuttling patients back and forth. So his ambulance would pull up, I would take his stretcher out and load a patient in.
Okay,
So all our stretchers are made by the same manufacturer. And they're all relatively the same age-ish, within a few years or so. But we have a maintenance agreement with those stretchers so that they're maintained.
okay.
These stretchers are costing, in excess of $20,000 now, just for the stretcher itself. So
Right.
we're keeping up on the maintenance on these things so that, they're
last.
not a problem for us when
Right.
you need them.
Right.
They're hydraulic operated. They require a battery lifting system and whatnot.
Okay.
So they're way more complex than they used to be 20 years ago.
Right.
So that agreement that we have for that service is so.
So
that
you
they
don't
can-
know if that's not in here under the contract then?
Yeah.
That should be under there.
It's under the revised
Yeah.
night. Yeah, it
I
should
didn't
be the
realize
20.
that was coming out of that line item.
Yeah, well,
Because it was
we missed it.
removed. It was removed, so.
So you may need to add that back in then.
we may need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does it cost them to do the yearly inspection, do you know?
I do not know off the top of my head.
But we might want to add
We
that
can find
back
out.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fi-
okay.
find out
I
something to
can,
maintain.
I can find out that information and let you know. Who do I let know? Mr. Little?
Tim.
Okay. I will,
Everybody
I will-
points down there.
I will let Mr. Little know tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Because,
the repair, I'm sorry to cut you off, the automobile repair and maintenance, that figure, so, as we mentioned, we're doing it in-house with.
yeah, well, that's why that number is relatively low
That's
for
just-
9 ambulances.
Okay,
Because it's labor for your, in case we would maybe have to send a piece of apparatus out.
Okay, so that's more
Yeah.
if you're outsourcing.
Yeah, right,
You're not,
yeah.
you're not buying
Yeah,
parts.
right.
that we're
Well,
putting on.
there is actually a line item for parts there, motor vehicle parts, and that's what's,
The mechanics, when
Mechanics,
they need a
yeah.
part for an ambulance, it comes out of that.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get
Right,
at.
yeah.
But as far as the repair and maintenance, that's just if you actually send a vehicle out, because we're
Yeah.
covering that in
A
public works.
lot
Right,
of that gets done
exactly.
in-house.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's also a specialty component of that occasionally associated with the ambulance units.
Yeah, there are
themselves,
times
the
they have to go
parts.
back to their
yeah, they have to go to the
builder.
To the
dealership
dealership.
That's
for,
understandable.
for maintenance work, and most of the time, if they're newer, obviously, they're going there for
Warranty.
warranty work, so.
Okay, I only have a question as to, the gasoline only went up $700 on all the fire trucks, but $10,000 on the 9 ambulances.
Figure out the
Well,
mileage.
I have
Is
a,
that,
Says
I have a good
there's
explanation for
no
that.
mileage written down, sir.
Yeah.
ambulances go
Here-
to
here's-
Pittsburgh
I-
every day.
Here's the explanation for that. Our call volume for EMS has gone up 64% in the last 5 years.
Wow.
we went from running around 4,000 calls up to over this year, we're gonna probably cap out at 7,400 calls.
Wow.
EMS calls this year in this municipality. So that's why there was an increase that even in years past, we've seen the gasoline, oil, and lubricants line item go up over the past couple of years for that reason, because our call volume is ever increasing. And it's just
Okay.
a necessity for the.
No, but that
for the-
needs to be
yeah.
explained to
Right.
everybody, that that amount of calls is what's happening, because people don't understand,
Right, yeah.
you know? So, and there's a lot of people out there to be thankful that you guys actually run that many calls.
And that also includes lubricants.
Yeah.
That's not just
Yeah,
a fuel.
Just fuel, that's
Yeah.
oil and hydraulics and stuff that you need
Okay.
for anything like that. So, the next line item, we just increased the tires about $500 just because, the ambulance tires obviously get used more than fire truck tires. They're getting replaced more often. We're putting more mileage on the ambulances, so that's why that went up a bit. And probably our biggest request for the operational budget line item is a document that that you were handed that says Monroeville Fire Department budget change proposal.
Hold on. We're just getting them.
Okay.
It's just in.
Yeah.
Ron?
I didn't get one. You got them all
No,
right?
they're coming. None of us got them.
So this proposal that we're bringing you, basically, if you look at the chart up top indicates our call volume from 2005 to 2018. Obviously, we didn't put 2019 in there because we don't have that final number, but we're projecting about 7,400. So it's going to even go up higher than the 2018 number. Pardon me. So that there you can see that's our call volume that has increased over the years.
Hasn't gone down.
Yeah. So if you look down at the grid where it says current Monroeville ambulance contribution and proposed increase, in the column that says current budget ambulance contribution, this is a line item on the ambulance service operational budget is ambulance contributions. It's the last line on the budget. The contribution has been $35,000 for essentially 8 ambulances, but this year because of our call volume, we've added another ambulance to the fleet for Company 6, and that brought us to 9. So the contributions for the ambulance service were only $35,000.
Well, 5,000 apiece.
Yeah, basically, yes.
And
That's
that
what-
ambulance that was added was bought by the fire department
Yeah,
itself,
oh, sure
correctly?
he is.
So
All
that-
the
all the
ambulances
ambulances
in the
are.
entire
Everyone needs to
municipality
know that, understand that.
are bought by the individual companies themselves.
Yeah.
So we're proposing that number, we're proposing an increase up to $185,000 annually for ambulance contributions.
So what's the contribution? Like, what's it? For?
It's just for us to provide EMS, essentially, to the
buy
municipality.
equipment,
And to buy
Equipment,
equipment and-
because, like Scott said, it costs $20,000 to buy a stretcher, aside from the ambulances. The cost up to,
Go ahead, say it.
I think, our last ambulance that we bought cost us $260,000 for one ambulance. That's.
And this money is for the stuff that you need to go in it, like apparatuses, that, like you said,
exactly, yeah,
and-
stretchers, equipment
Yeah.
to keep
Scott,
us
you mentioned the
certified.
$20,000. How much is the load system?
Oh, the load system is, all in all, if you buy the stretcher and the load system together, it's $60,000
Wow.
for just the stretcher and the load system in there. And obviously, the load system helps our personnel to not get hurt.
Well,
Because
yeah.
we're lifting very heavy people into the ambulance, and this load system does that work for us. So we're pulling back on the workers' comp for EMS personnel getting injured. So, I mean, you spend a little more money, and in the long run, you're spending less.
Right.
Yeah, especially from a workers' comp standpoint.
How much equipment would you say is in one ambulance?
Oh, my gosh.
With the
I
trucks
know you're
being-
gonna have to ballpark it.
Yeah.
With the trucks being pushing over 200,000
Yeah.
now, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the bulk of your
Yeah.
price, obviously, but, you know. the equipment
Cardiac
is-
monitors, $30,000. Stretchers, $20,000. The load system, pulse oxes are about $1,000. You know, and we've it's all the immobilization equipment we have to buy. I mean, for me to go through all the equipment that we keep in an ambulance
Right.
is nearly impossible
The
because
bags
there's
that you
just so
carry into
much.
somebody's house with your
Yeah.
medical equipment
Yeah. Right.
and are a couple $100 a piece.
Yeah.
just
What
for
happens
bags.
if you were on an ambulance call like the one you referred to on Pitcairn Road and some of this stuff gets broken?
Well, if it gets broken, we just have to throw it
pays-
away and replace it.
who pays for that?
And we pay for it out of our pocket. Yeah.
That's paid for by the volunteer firemen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the figures here, so if I'm looking, and I can this ties to my very first question about how you guys divvy it up.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking, station one, it's 3 times the amount, so from 10,000 to 30,000.
Yeah.
Whereas station 4 is getting 6 times the amount,
They have 3 ambulances.
10,000 to 60,000.
Yeah, we have a third ambulance that we operate in our station.
Oh, so this is a
Yeah.
per ambulance,
Yeah,
is what you're saying?
essentially it is. It doesn't come out exactly, but I think when we built this, we kind of built it like, according to how each company provides EMS service and in the amount of service they provide in the municipality, according to their district.
So,
And the call volumes vary between the stations.
so in the past, if the chief, Station 1, requested his budget allotment for his ambulances, he would get $10,000.
Yeah, in the past.
$5,000 per unit.
Yeah,
Correct.
It was 5,000 per unit before,
Per
in the
unit.
past.
yeah.
Yes, and I think that.
For all eight
Yeah.
apparat, or 8 or 9.
Yeah, everybody
Yes,
gets
Yeah,
exactly.
everyone
For 8
gets
ambulances, it was
5,000 per
5,000.
ambulance.
Because
If
this
you got-
year,
Number 4 had 3 of them, and
well, we've only had 2 of our ambulances in this allotment because we were only getting 10,000 before.
But you've added a third
We-
one, you
we-
said.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
well,
there's been a
that was the third one was added many years ago. That was before my
Oh.
regime.
But
That
there
was
was-
back in the Bob Ratcher days of
Oh,
Company
okay.
4.
But
And,
you've never gotten the
Harold can
5,000?
explain it.
yeah, Harold. Yeah.
Wait a second, you never got
No.
the additional
No, because
monies
we,
for the
we,
third?
we never brought a proposal in front of you for
Oh.
that. So, we've looked at this and we've seen the need for an increase in ambulance contribution.
Right.
We haven't asked for one since probably the early 90s.
Yeah,
So now we're in the, I mean,
2005.
oh, is that the last time we?
Well, we looked back on the records when we
Yeah.
requested about this and couldn't find anything earlier than that, but I don't think
Yeah.
it's ever been.
So in
Yeah.
15 years, essentially, the same amount of money has been in place.
Right.
When 15 years ago, an ambulance would have been roughly, barely $100,000.
There's 3 old fire chiefs sitting in here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, so-
Now, do you ever remember an increase in that?
I can tell you that I started doing the budget in 2000, and it was at 5,000 in 2000.
Harold,
Wow.
do you remember any?
well, and you're just
can't-
telling us there's been a 106% increase in EMS call-outs since 2005.
Yeah.
And there's never been a request for an increase.
Right, essentially.
so,
Gotcha.
so number 1 has how many ambulances?
2.
Two.
And 3 has how many?
3 has none. They don't provide EMS service.
So number 3 doesn't get,
No.
they're not in this.
They're not
budget.
even
They
on
Right,
the
right. They're not on
receive-
the
they don't
ambulance,
receive the
but,
revenue.
ambulance budget at all.
Okay. And number 4 has, I'm sorry.
3,
3.
And 5
2,
and 6.
2.
Okay.
Should make 9. I hope.
I can add them up here. Looks like 9. So now with these calls, yeah, the volume's up, and I mean, you guys, everyone knows you guys do a phenomenal job with what you're doing. We have 2 hospitals in our community.
Yeah.
Actually, our community's aging, so there's certainly a need. That's probably why there's the increase in volume of calls.
Mayor, when the chiefs talked about this, I did a little research they didn't know I did, which was I called different communities and asked them how much their EMS services were costing them. And an example is Penn Hills has a municipally paid EMS service that only has 2 ambulances on per shift, I believe,
2
Their
to 3.
budget's 1.7 million. I called Mount Lebanon, who subcontracts their EMS out to Health South,
No, to,
They're an authority.
to
Medical
Medical
Rescue
Rescue Team South.
Medical Rescue Team South. They pay them around $380,000 a year. And I checked with Plum, and they give their, is that EMS service private, I think?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a
yeah,
nonprofit, it's the
it's-
same.
And they,
Yeah.
they provide them over $400,000.
Yeah.
I think it's around 480. But,
This is a bargain.
Yep.
even
so-
with this
yeah, because-
increase, you're still only taking it to 237 and nine EMS units.
Yeah.
And I think maybe another way to look at that, when you talk about the increase in the numbers that are here, it's so high, it's also the man-hour usage. If I recall correctly, when you look at each of these calls, it's about an hour, a little bit less per person in place. So you're looking at almost, if you divide that by 365, it's like 19 point something or another. Let's say 20 calls per day as well with man-hour use. So in other words, just about every hour of the day, there's personnel engaged in the activity at 2 at a minimum
Yeah.
per place. Yeah, and in most cases, there's usually between 4 and 6 across the municipality, depending on the time of the day. But usually 6 or more, actually, in most cases, too.
Usually
So-
between the hours of 3 PM and
Yep,
8 PM,
8
you can guarantee there's about
6.
5 ambulances,
It's
5
running.
ambulance calls going on at this.
Same time.
Roughly at the same time.
Yeah, the
through those
man-hour
hours.
usage and the operational tempo is higher than it's ever been.
So 7,000 calls, roughly, we're approaching that 7,400 for the year. There's a health insurance reimbursement, right, for the calls?
We do get reimbursed. Obviously, unfortunately, I guess we're the only industry that insurance really doesn't have to pay the full amount that we bill. So we might, if we would send.
That's pretty
high
standard.
mar-
I've done that before.
If we, oh,
It's got that same problem.
You're a chiropractor, you know about that. They decide what they want to pay us.
Certainly.
So if we want to bill them $800 for an ALS trip, they might say, okay, we'll pay you $500.
Well, it's the agreed upon fee schedule, because you'd be participating providers for the different insurance plans, so to speak.
Well, no, I don't know if that's
The
necessarily
auto industry
true.
pays up pretty,
The auto, auto
Yeah,
industry,
that's about the only, the
the-
auto
the-
industry.
the difference
If we send a State Farm a bill because you had a crash and you,
It's fixed.
and you had to go to the hospital, they pay the whole bill. They're about the only, the only folks that pay the bill.
Yeah, the challenge in EMS billing has traditionally been, as opposed to individual service provided, say for other healthcare providers, it's an either this or that. It fits into a couple of different categories, irrespective of insurance being paid for vehicle accidents or specialty.
Well, remember
for each
the-
of those two. So it's almost fixed in that. So
It's
if
a
the
you bundle everything together.
yeah, right, they
remember
do.
the
So
number of calls that they could get,
Yeah.
that they take a person from an auto accident, they do heart monitoring, administer IVs, drugs, trauma treatment, and go to a trauma center, Allegheny General or Mercy, or, and the person's in insured at all, and they get nothing.
oh yeah, those two too. There's
Yeah.
also a certain part of it's not on the
Yeah,
uninsured auto piece.
there's a lot of calls that we go on where we get paid nothing for
Our
providing a
services are
service
based on, we know we're getting paid.
because they don't.
We price services based on the service that we provide to the.
Yeah, so it doesn't have the opportunity, now, some states allow individual fee-for-service for certain types of care, but the difference between certain types of advanced care that's in place and really extensive care, they're the same for somebody that gets an IV started on them as opposed to emptying the drug box and going through a cardiac arrest. The number's the same.
And take it
And
another
extra
different-
resources too, and personnel.
This may
We
sound
put people
stupid,
on-
but you guys have sent out, as we all know, ambulances, fire trucks, and it ends up like, no, I don't want to go. And you've just wasted gas, time,
Yep.
wear and tear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
You know,
certainly.
like I refuse to be treated.
Yeah.
But if you also look at the people that are on those apparatus, I'll use a blanket term there. But, you know, when I was 28 years ago, when I started right here in Monroeville, under,
Yeah.
Someone I know.
Over there.
you know,
I'm sure
my-
about the fourth.
Yeah,
Fire-
fourth,
fire chief
yeah.
meant the fourth
Yeah,
fire
really.
the training in this field was actually, for the most part, it was free. You know, it was free for me to go to EMT school. Now
It's like
those
$100
charges are $550 if you go, you know, and take that
Very
course
basic.
through CCAC.
What's a medic class?
versus-
Well, depending on where you go, if you go to the Center for Emergency Medicine down through UPMC, it's about $7,000 to become a paramedic.
And the fire company takes care
And the
of it.
fire
And the fire
companies
company
are
has to pay for that.
we fund you come back with a certificate now.
Right, yeah.
We're not paying for your exploration.
Let me
But,
ask you a curveball question here. I retired from this. I support this. I realize where you're coming from probably as much as anybody in the room. I have a concern that was presented to me twice, and do we have a guarantee down at dispatch center that all our ambulances will never go out of town?
Oh, certainly. That's in our our operational dispatch procedures. Anytime that
Because I know we give a lot of mutual aid.
we do, unfortunately, we do provide the communities around us upon request EMS service if they need it. I mean, and they do the same for us when we need it, but we're pretty self-sustaining. We can almost put every ambulance on the road if there's a need. Obviously, the crash that Scott was talking about, we needed 8 ambulances. 8 ambulances showed up, and because the troops come out for the call. So there is a limit. Once we reach 5 ambulances committed to calls or whatever, committed to whatever, a detail calls, or even out of service. That includes out of service ambulances.
Okay.
So if you have 2 of the 9 out, that means we allow 3 more ambulances to be out. We will always maintain a minimum of 3 ambulances in town for our residents. We never strip the municipality and go down to 0 unless we're providing 9 residents of Monroeville with EMS service at that one time, obviously.
Or it's an extreme trauma
Right,
call.
yeah,
with
yeah.
A bus accident.
If it's a mass casualty incident, it's like all hands on deck.
Yeah.
If the city of Pittsburgh would have a major event and they needed EMS, they would request maybe 2 or 3. And, when stuff like that happens, we are all very on the ball with that. I'll send a text out to the fire chiefs committee. Hey, there's something going on in the city of Pittsburgh. They're calling a couple of our ambulances. What's out of service? What's in service? Let's make sure we keep the in-town.
Even if all our ambulances are tied up at a bad incident, can't we call mutual aid?
Oh, yeah, sure. We have mutual aid contracts with surrounding communities. Plum, Murraysville,
It's required by license.
Penn Hills. Yeah, we have to have a contract for them in case all of our ambulances and all of our EMS resources are expended. We have backup.
Okay.
That's required.
But we will not strip the community.
No. That's been a policy. That's been in place for years and years. Yeah.
Okay.
I have nothing on there.
So I guess the chiefs they're asking at this point for a proposed budget increase of $150,000. That's not in the budget. That's something we wouldn't, obviously we don't decide now, but
Yeah,
that's something
right.
that council considers in
Yeah.
December or whenever they
And
decide.
you'll
to
check
pass the
on that
budget.
other line item?
Yeah,
Let Tim know
I will
tomorrow.
check on the contribute, or
Yeah,
the contract service fees.
Correct.
And the rest of,
Contribution. I don't know. how we
there's
missed
no other
that.
biomedical contracts, Scott, that's existing for equipment servicing.
No.
Some of which has been still with.
Currently, the only other item that we would have to do that kind of contract with are the cardiac monitors we carry. However, those are provided
By Forbes.
right currently by Forbes Hospital.
Yeah.
However, at the end of next year, those monitors are going to be gone because those are
Because of age.
And
they're aged and they are not going to be doing any preventive maintenance on them at that point. So
Supported from the.
that's something we're going to have to look at in our budget as well to replace 9 cardiac monitors. Well, actually, 9 or 10.
Is there any
So,
grant funding or anything for something like that?
well,
Sometimes.
there's a possibility for the volunteer fire department. Grants are kind of easy to get. For the volunteer
For
EMS services,
Not so much.
it's much harder.
And
Yeah,
by
it's
precedent,
just-
it was
because
some-
they're just not there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and by
But that's not
precedent,
dead
it
in
was,
the water yet either.
yeah.
by precedent,
That's
though, it's
something
been something that.
that's
Monroe
something that
was
we
not
have on the middle burner.
Okay.
It's not quite on the front because it's not going until the end of 2022, 21?
21.
21.
Okay,
End
We're
of
thinking about
2021. But it's something that's on our radar, and we're
Okay.
keeping a close eye on it, because, if these monitors that Forbes has provided to us very graciously, if they start breaking and we can't,
That's okay.
and they can't fix it,
Work it.
right.
we gotta be
Figure out what
worried
you're
about
gonna
that.
do.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
yeah. So, there was one other item that we wanted to bring before you, and that's in regard to a capital expenditure for the ambulance service. I don't believe you have anything for this.
Yeah, because capital wouldn't be part of this budget.
Oh, you don't want to talk about that at all?
I mean, that's the pleasure of council, but that's,
Well, I think we're gonna have a meeting for capital expenditures,
Yeah.
we're not.
Are we,
Yeah.
Tim?
Oh, sure, you have to.
all the
Yeah.
departments.
Yeah, we're gonna have another,
Come another time.
just capital.
There'll be a separate capital
another
budget
time.
meeting.
Okay,
asking-
another
you're
time.
asking-
You
You're
can wear
asking
the
another.
same shirt.
Okay, yeah, I know,
You
yeah,
can
I
email me
understand.
what you were just about to say.
Oh, okay, okay.
That way
he
you
does
can put
need
it,
to
It's not
know.
that bad at all.
Okay.
You won't fall off your chair, don't worry.
I already have.
I was gonna say, he's already off his chair.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anything, other questions for these
No,
gentlemen?
very informative.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, on behalf of the Monroeville Fire Department and the Fire Chiefs Committee, we'd like to thank the municipality of Monroeville, members of council, Mayor Griesbach, Manager Little, for their continued generosity and commitment to the Monroeville Fire Department in the past, today, and into the future. It's much appreciated. We thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.